Hello, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in, sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome. Welcome back. If you have, my intention is unity and oneness and the highest levels of love light. This video is going to be made more with the intention of sharing some of the synchronicities that I've been experiencing, noticing in conversation, what's going on in the collective field. We're going to do a little bit of everything. Why not? So thank you for tuning in. Just wanted to kind of express, and I might do a little channeling at the end as well. And oftentimes I'm doing both. So if you're looking for light language, I'm going to be doing more of those videos soon. This will not be a light language video or a pure channeling. It'll be a mix of everything. I want to start off by saying, isn't this picture so cool? I love taking pictures. So the first thing I want to talk about is creativity. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about what's happening in our social realm, especially in the US right now. I feel like that can be an important topic considering what's happened this week. And this is the week of the 16th in July. And let's start off with creativity first. So I take pictures of random things all the time. If you guys have ever noticed my backgrounds, they're all pictures I've taken most of the time. Every once in a while, I'll use something else if I can't pull up my own pictures. I get excited about it because it gives me, I take random pictures of things and then I look at them later and it inspires me. I think, wow, I didn't even see that before, or wow, I didn't expect that to look like this. And I express in that way. Oftentimes I'll use, but I also will see someone else's painting and I will write a poem around what that painting inspires within me. So that's kind of the message, is utilizing both. We're really being called to go within, find our center, go into our heart, and really look at our inner world and to then create from that. If we're never going within and we're never doing the work, which is funny because actually going within doesn't always feel like work. It can be fun, it can be expansive, but it can be work if we're not used to it. It's still work for me sometimes. I mean, sometimes it's really challenging for me to sit with myself and just go within and see what Spirit has to share with me. Other times, it's not about going within and seeing what Spirit has to share with me. It's about doing my laundry. It's about cleaning my house, which isn't always glamorous, right? So there are moments where we're really being called to take action, and there are moments where we're really being called to go within to see and feel into what action to take. And wherever you are is an individual expression. The guides are basically saying we got to do both. So once we go into that space and we go within, we hermit, we go to the cave, we meditate, we pray, we do yoga, whatever it is that we do for our own personal practice. And it's so important that we do have a personal practice of something. And if you're not sure what that is or what that looks like for you, that would be a completely different video. And I should probably organize these videos at some point. But I would suggest starting with what would feel really good right now. Or what doesn't feel good right now. Do I feel anxiety? Do I feel tired? Feeling how you feel is so important. So if you feel tired, sometimes it's good to go and take a walk, but sometimes it's good to go take a nap. If you're not sure what to do, try both. Take a walk. If you don't feel better, take a nap. So know thyself. And that's something that takes practice, from my perspective, every day of some sort. Get a session, go get body work done, go have an energy session, have an intuitive session with someone that resonates with you. Talk with a friend, journal. So doing the work can look like going for a walk and taking random photos of things. It can be calling a friend and just saying, hey, I was thinking about you. All these things are forms of us tuning in to what we need in the moment. That requires us, though, to sit with ourselves. So in that case, it might be a good idea not to call a friend unless we need help or we feel like we're not really sure what we want. And we know that friend can sometimes help us, and it's okay to ask for help. But sometimes we're really being called to go within and ask for help from here. What do I really want in this moment? What would feel really good? And sometimes it's just taking a hot bath, jumping in a cold plunge, whatever it is, and kind of following that guidance so that we can start to recognize that guidance more often and more clearly. I just did a video on clairaudience, but it's clear everything. A lot of us are starting to open to those innate abilities, but we can't understand what we're seeing clearly if we're not recognizing that we're seeing something. Or so recognizing the signs, paying attention, that's playing words, paying attention to synchronicity, which is my passion. For me, this light is synchronicity. And I play with that. That's how I use my environment just like I would tarot cards. That's my choice. I use cards also. So whatever that means, and that can be another form of doing the work. Buy yourself a set of cards. And you might say, well, what kind of cards do I start with? Whatever feels fun. And that comes back to playfulness. So what would feel fun right now? And I know I hear some of you out there going, well, that's silly for me to buy cards and base my reality off of some cards and what the cards are telling me. It's not about what the cards are telling you. It's about your conscious being open to explore and be playful to see what symbols come through. Because guaranteed, if you're paying attention, the cards are not going to be the only thing that shows up for you. I look at all of the pictures in the cards, right? And I play with that. And then my environment gives me more clues about the questions that I'm asking through animals, through conversation. Even when I go shopping, I'll be shopping at a particular store that I love shopping in, and everything in the store happens to be this one theme that I happen to be tuning into a couple days prior. However, if I hadn't pulled that card, I wouldn't notice it necessarily. Or other way around. You might be someplace and you might notice a bunch of things, and then later on you pull a card and it happens to be that same animal that you saw on your walk. I mean, I could go on and on. So just tune in and start somewhere, right? To go within and ask yourself these questions. But the other message that's coming through from our guides right now is stepping outside of our box, stepping outside of our comfort zone. So once we've done that, the safety zone is what I'm hearing. It's important for us to be able to bring that to the table. And I'm seeing Knights of the Round Table. How can we come together and share our creative ideas and expand? Because we're tribe. We learn from each other. We learn from our experiences. And just like the storytellers of our ancestors, the storytellers were the key part of the tribe, just like the shaman. And the shamans oftentimes were the storytellers. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. And not only that, that's how we use our imagination to grow our thoughts, ideas, feelings, all of it. It's an interactive experience at this time. Maybe hundreds of years ago, it may have been more important to go to a cave. And in some traditions, that might be what they still choose to do. But most likely, if you're living out in society and you're in the US, which is where I'm located, or in any other country where you're interacting and you have a job or you have to go to the grocery store, certain things like that, you're not necessarily just living off the land, we're connecting with other people. But even those that are living off the land still have a tribe, right? So that's basically the message. It's connect. And now is the time for us to connect. But back to basics. So if we're just seeking connection and we're looking for sustainability from someone else or something else, it's going to be short-lived, short-fused. It's not, you need both, yin and yang, right? Yin and yang. So that's what the big message is coming in right now. And by the way, guys, I started this channel 4 or 5 years ago, maybe. I don't really remember when now. I have to go back and look. And I was super embarrassed to do it. I felt like I had to. I've had some ups and downs over the years doing this type of work. And if I hadn't had that push to do it, and I didn't just take a chance, and I didn't go through being made fun of and feeling silly and etc., I certainly wouldn't have, but I went within first and then I expressed, but then I'd have to go back within. And it's constant, it's this constant, but it's taking a chance is what I'm hearing. Take a chance, take a chance, take a chance on me. It's taking a chance. And so sometimes we're being called to take a chance if we get, but doing it from a place of balance. So sometimes people are seeking all this stuff outside of themselves and then they don't get what they're expecting because they really aren't, they don't know thyself. So they're putting their expectations in another circumstance, another person, a certain resort that they go on or trip that they go on. And it's just like when I went to Tony Robbins back in the day, which by the way, I highly recommend. It was so much fun. I was not a believer. Then I went and I was a total believer. And then 3 months later, I was like, what happened? Forgot it all. I didn't forget. It sticks. You know, there's certain things that stick, right? But it wears off. The high wears off and it morphs into something else because we change and we shift as human beings. So if we're putting these expectations to give us that high that we need, to be that friend that we want, to be that person that we think they should be, we need this from this person. This is a good sign for us to stop. And I'm hearing take account, take accountability, be accountable for our own actions, our own needs, and not constantly relying on an outside source to motivate us, to pull us out of our shell, to bring us into a higher vibration. And I just want to back up and say, I use outside sources all the time for motivation. I look at artwork for motivation. I listen to sound healing. All of it, to me, it's a constant interaction that I learn from and I grow from. It isn't natural for me. I've always been shy since I was, when I was little, I wasn't shy. And then all of a sudden I hit school and I became shy because it was scary. And oftentimes we're younger, maybe not as a child, but when we're a teenager, how awkward, right? In our teenage years, did we feel? Some of us didn't feel awkward or we faked it till we made it kind of thing. But what I'm trying to share is some of us are going through that awkward teenage stage now in our stage of development of, am I comfortable with this? What am I looking for? Who am I? That's okay. We're all going through it at some stage of our life. And that's what's so fun about stepping outside of our box, getting out of our comfort zone, asking ourselves these questions. So that was the next synchronicity and message that was coming through from the guides. So let's say we find our tribe and then the answer or the message was, that doesn't mean we put all of our eggs in one basket. This is the way. This is the only way. And then we're disappointed when someone in that tribe does something that we find isn't in alignment with what we feel is ascension, high vibration. Well, they did that. That means they're wrong. Therefore, everything I believed in just went out the window. But I mean, some of us have been there, done that. We're all human. Not one person is going to have all the answers. There's not a group that has all the answers from my perspective. I don't have all the answers. I very rarely have a lot of answers. I just kind of go day by day and see what my guidance is to do. And I still have questions too. And I guarantee you, so does the biggest person that we can imagine in our lives that we look up to. They're still human, right? So I was using me as an example because sometimes when you're in this industry and you're a psychic or an intuitive or you are channeling, people do have a tendency to expect certain things from you. And being in that position can be very scary if we put too much pressure on ourselves to always be right or to always be understood or to always have all the answers. Because the other thing that the guides are always telling me is we are in a multidimensional reality. My perspective, the way in which I receive answers, may not be understood by someone who is unable to see from that perspective. And that's okay. So we're being called to ask ourselves if we're feeling disappointed in a particular person, a role model, let's say, because now they are no longer falling in that role that we put them in, or even that they placed themselves in. We're really being called to have compassion and also recognize, is that a reflection of my own belief system? Did I put too much energy into that person because I'm not trusting myself to have my own answers? So these are all important questions. And again, that's a question to go within, meditate on, and then maybe see what comes up for us. And we learn from that. We recognize everyone's human. Everyone's having these experiences. And sometimes by us feeling let down, or sometimes by us feeling disappointed, we're really being called to put the fingers back on us and say, how have I disappointed other people? How have I let other people down? How have I let myself down, right? And how can I balance that out? Because sometimes that's happening for us to find that balance within ourselves. Most of the time, that's why it's happening. Also, recognizing again and having compassion for everything going on the world stage. I'm going to roll right into that because these are all humans. And well, I know some of you are like, oh, they're not all human. Some of us are hybrids. For those of you with the galactic flavor, that's neither here nor there. My point is, we're here on Earth having a human experience. And let's pretend for a moment that we believe everyone on the world stage is human. And from my perspective, they all are to a certain extent, because they wouldn't be in a human body having some sort of human functions, even if they're not fully functioning. And so compassion, right? And part of what I see playing out is so that we can find that compassion within ourselves for everyone involved, which is really challenging when you're looking at people that maybe don't have compassion themselves. And so we can ask ourselves, well, where have I not shown myself compassion? Where have I not shown someone else compassion? And in that moment, you might be realizing I'm not showing them compassion. Whew. And then it turns into, well, I don't need to because blah, blah. Okay, but, right? Ho'oponopono, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. So if you know what the Ho'oponopono is, I encourage you to look that up. It's a Hawaiian prayer and it's beautiful. And I've used it for many years and it works. So if I'm in a place where, for me, and everything I share is from my perspective. So I think I'm going to go into a little channeling about what's happening about all this. Hopefully that was a quick overview. I could go on and on for days about messages that are coming through, but we'll just start with that. So I'm going to pause just for a moment. I don't know what's going on with my lighting here. Okay, so when I drop in to go into flow, usually I just set my intention to share whatever messages are relevant for the collective right now or whoever's watching these videos. Not like we have a huge platform here, but I'm so grateful for everyone who has watched these videos. I'm grateful for everyone who's shared their energy with me and all the people I've had sessions with. I mean, it's so much fun and I really do appreciate all of you. And I appreciate everyone who's shared these videos as well. And I think I had some things that happened. My channel got a little bit locked in because of some things I've said in the past, but it is what it is. It'll reach whoever is needed, or whoever maybe needs or could benefit from these messages. But my intention when I do these, I'm going to set my intention to connect in with the collective, specifically in the US right now, maybe because of what's happening in our realm. But as I say this, I'm getting the message to realize the ripple effect, that this doesn't just affect us, 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 right? It affects the entire collective. And what they're sharing with me right now is compassion is key, because no matter how we look at everything that's happened in our reality, even, and I'm just going to go kind of, I don't always like to go political, but I'm going to, because there's actually, I love, how do I want to, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to go through this so I don't get put in a box again. No matter what side or no side, just watching from a neutral place, it's easy for me to have compassion for everyone. And the reason is, put yourself in their shoes, right? And so that's essentially what the message that's coming through. No matter how we slice it, people have families on both sides. And even if the activities that we've watched are nefarious or not for the country's highest and greatest good from our perspective, whatever side you're on, if any, there's still a human there, whether it's love for a child, whether it's love for self, whether it's a family to support. So there's something there that is human, even if an ego, by the way, is human. Being selfish and not making decisions for the greater good of the country, but doing it for their family is human. It doesn't make it right. Yet at the same time, it's not wrong to do something for the love of your fellow family. Do you see where I'm going with this? So, by the way, I don't agree with a lot of things, but I just want to kind of see what the guides have to say about this, or in general, if anything. Okay, the sixth dimensional energies have been coming in a lot lately. And what they're saying is it's because it's simplified in order to make it less complicated. And so as we redirect our energies to something more simplified, we come back to the roots of sacred geometry. So this message is going to be potentially tenfold, depending on the angle in which it is connected into. So we will share some simpler words, and we will share some more geometrically concise words in a way that will hopefully display the multidimensionality in not only communication, but the energy behind, or the charge behind, the words that we are sharing. And so for a simplified variation, the tone that many of us are feeling is, I'm hearing compassion. I'm just going to pause. Cool-ish. So I've got some light language, changes the frequency a bit. I said this wasn't going to be light language, but didn't know. We're going to do a little light language here and a little toning. I hope this microphone is working. We hold a space. We hold a center of energy from our heart space, from our center of energy. And from this space, we project our reality. We are we, all of us in this sea of energy that we are each poured into, that we are each exuding energy from or sending energy out of. And so as we watch what is happening around us, we are being invited to go back into the center of the I am aware presence and become more aware, if you will, of the presence of something else, something that is slightly different than before. There is a an undercurrent, if you will, of some old energies that are being expelled, potentially some old fears that are boiling and bubbling up, that are coming to the surface, that are old and ancient. Okay, I'm being shown. Have you guys ever just been in a room with like really old dust? I've stayed in a hotel room once. It was like a bed and breakfast from like the 1800s. And my allergies went crazy. The room was clean, but there was one spot, and I can pick up on that really old dust, or just that's what they're showing me. It's just old, and it's causing people to react because of it. So that's one part though. And they're showing me this light fixture, like it's just that piece right there, and maybe that piece over there, and that piece over there. So they're kind of playing with this. I think there's dust on that too. Okay. And we invite you to be more aware of what you are aware of, because many of you will feel there's something stirring behind the scenes, but we invite you to get out of your head. We invite you to become well-read. And this means increasing your vocabulary. And I just did a video on this. It's a big play on words, but I invite you to watch that if you feel called. When they say increase your vocabulary, it literally means increase how it is that you see things. The more you do that, the bigger vocabulary of how we can speak about those experiences changes. We go from second grade to having our PhD basically in an energetic sense of being able to describe. It's, going from an astrophysicist down to somebody who's just learning about mathematics. So we're not able to necessarily describe quantum theory, but because we're seeing things from a different perspective, because we're holding and anchoring this energy of light and stability, it opens up the locks. It opens up the channels for us to see more clearly, and pulls us away from channels of disassociation. Disassociation? It allows ourselves to empower this greater stance of understanding. And we step away from the need to disempower ourselves, and to step and to empower things that are not something that we necessarily want anymore. Some people are so plugged into a particular platform that they are unable to take that leap. I'm seeing magnetic boots, like a platform that's metal, and they have magnetic boots on, and they're afraid of taking them off because they're not sure where they're going to float to. But also that platform has them glued to it. And this is a play on words because it has to do with layers of reality. It has to do with layers in our dimensional vibration. It also has to do with the media and television and things like that. We are being called to expand our awareness. And as we do this, we become more aware. The more awareness we become, play on words, we allow ourselves to activate our fuller potential. Our own system begins to respond. I'm hearing the metric system. We begin to pick up our response time. And in doing this, time must pick up to keep up with us. Therefore, time is speeding up from a higher bandwidth perspective. This allows us to increase our range and tune into a higher range of sound awareness, bandwidth, adaptability, and mobility. This affects everything. This has an impact on our cellular alchemy, our cellular geometry, our bodies, archaeology, and architecture. And this impacts our social economic system, not only within our own body, but that which is outside of us that we have been working through for many eons, it causes us to work through it faster. It causes us to develop a relationship with our environment in a different organizational quantum variation and structure. We are no longer harnessed by the inability to see. So what I'm being shown is, because we're not aware, if we're not aware, we agree to certain things in unawareness, subconscious, right? I got a little distracted. Our capacity for understanding our environment then shifts and changes and allows us to wield our swords, if you will, in a different light. That's a play on words, and I'll come back to that. I'm seeing like archangel, and I'm seeing like our sword is our our sword is the word. But when I say sword, I see S and I see the word, and I see like that has to do with Kundalini and our energetic connection, if you will, to all of our experiences. As we grow this together, we grow together. And therefore, our environment must grow with us. And therefore, our political system, there's something to play on words with that, must also advance in order to keep up with the advancement of the human technology. And this is difficult to explain in a linear level because we think we would like to see change now. And we are here to share with you the change is now, for you are the change. You are each individually changing and restructuring how it is that you project and create your reality. Therefore, the distortions will start to dissolve and resolve themselves. And in some cases, the resolution will be in conflict, for there is another group of individuals who are seeking to continue creating a distorted reality. And we are in both worlds, one might say, at certain times. Yet, simultaneously, as we play with multi-frequency accessibility, we then construct reality in a much more diplomatic way. And so we would invite everyone to be patient and to play as much as possible with this new unification grid. For there has been a unified structure that has overlaid, or template, that has overlaid itself upon this reality complex. And while it is complex to describe, we would venture to say that it can be felt or understood by feeling. So many of us are feeling a harmony enmeshed within the chaos. If you are giving yourself the opportunity to expand, if you are giving yourself the opportunity to recognize this, and that's a play on words like tuning in, listen to the sound, feeling. And I'm also being shown that this is pouring in through the crown. So we have to be open and open heart. But what I'm seeing is this energy pouring in through the crown. You know, think about what it's pouring in through the body. It's going through the brain, energetically, for just a moment. If you visualize this light structure, kind of like the light behind me, coming in through the crown, overlaid over the earth, let's start there, and it's hugging the earth, so to speak, and it's pouring in with photonic light down through the body, and we're calling that to us. we've asked for a higher template structure. And we've asked for this. While there are some that are asking for something else, right? That's their template structure. And what I'm hearing is that is finite. So we're calling in more of the infinite, the infinite energy that is accessible to us at all times. And we've broken through the surface layer. We've broken through the layers that were previously, they're saying unbreakable, but that's like a play on words. Like they seemed unbreakable. It seemed like we were stuck here, but that was a falsity. I'm hearing a false city, and I'm seeing a green screen, like the emerald in The Wizard of Oz, right? So that template wishes to renew itself through our codependency. I said this was going to be simple, but now they're using kind of complicated words, but it's all a play on words. So that template structure wishes to reorganize itself because currently it's scattered. And while it is regaining its composure from one perspective, the composition it is no longer regenerative. So what I'm being shown through my third eye, picture a music like a symphony was written and the symphony was disharmonious, but it was a symphony and we were listening to it playing in the background and we got so used to it that it created a distortion in our field and it created a distortion of how we see reality. We'll just keep it that simple on a quantum level. What's happening is the energy has shifted so dramatically because of us, we are the change, that it's caused certain notes within that old organization to melt. I'm literally seeing these notes that have melted. So they're trying to put these keys back together to maintain stability in the old structure, and I'm hearing the old inorganic structure, that template cannot regain its composure because it doesn't have enough time, because we're operating at such a high level that every time it fixes part of the distortion, another part of it melts. And this has to do, I'm hearing the heat is on. This has to do partly with us turning up the heat, the sun turning up the heat. Like everything is working towards this higher template structure of this infinite probability and this infinite lattice work of a fractality that is part of the natural order of things. It's not to say that this old template structure isn't going to survive in some ways because they're hanging on to it so hard. I'm hearing so hard, but I'm hearing it's hard, like there's parts of it that haven't quite melted yet. But that's not to say that very quickly that can be replaced and restructured. I'm hearing resurfaced. Okay. So we are each building this new template structure, if you will. It has already been established. Yet the timelines that were diversified before did not necessarily allow us to see our fuller potential, meaning our score, our energetic score that we were able to keep track of, that was keeping us in a particular track, has since the old days of reckoning, like we don't recognize it because we're not used to looking at it. It's brand new. So we're like, what is that? I feel something different. I see things differently. And this goes back to what they were sharing in the beginning of this message. By us seeing things differently, that's what's creating our reality structure. And that's on a quantum level. So we invite everyone to drop into this new signature, this new signal, this new frequency signature that allows us to open our eyes and exchange with our environment around us energetically in a more compatible way. Potentially letting go of what you thought even, I'm hearing 1 month ago to the day. So that's a play on words. Even letting go of what we believed would be impossible. And sometimes it feels impossible to let go of something that we feel is all we've ever known. Yet, I'm being called to play with that too. So, all we've ever known, or that we thought we've known, we've had feelings about. Now we're having different feelings that we're not used to feeling, maybe. Or now we know things, know thyself, be still and know. We're coming into knowingness, so we're feeling differently about what it is that we know now. I'm hearing you know nothing, Jon Snow. But the funny part about that is it's because we've expanded our vocabulary. So we might hear a word, we're not sure what the meaning is, it's new to us, but we feel something about it. And what I'm hearing is be curious about those feelings. Because in that curiosity, in that inner child simplicity is the key. And in that, we find our voice. We find our inner stability to loosen up and let go. I'm hearing hang on loosely. And I'm seeing Lucy in the sky with diamonds. Okay. So you guys, I go into this synchronistic flow sometimes, and there's reminding me of an elephant, and an elephant means memory. And so I'm being called to share that we're tuning into a deeper memory. And so these memories that were built in an old reality template construct structure, those memories were attached to feelings. So what's happening is those are bubbling up for a lot of us, hence fear and uncertainty about our future, because those feelings are feelings we've had over and over again in the distorted reality. And that's all we know. Some of us, right? Some of us have only known these, or we had them a lot when we were kids, and now here they are again, and we're like, oh, this brings up my sense of insecurity. And these feelings are being brought up for a reason. So part of the reason is to try to rebuild the old structure that's fallen apart. Part of that reason is for us to they're trying to isolate they versus us. I usually like to steer clear of that, but let's just say for a moment, for the dark and light perspective, I don't even want to go there because everything has darkness and light in it. So let's say that this old reality structure that's collapsing, that the distortions are being seen. It's like writing a code. So this beautiful code was written that created a very distorted reality, and we were like, oh, this is reality. Now those pieces of the musical notes have melted in that symphony or that code or the matrix, and we're like, wait a minute, there's a hole in that wall. Where did that hole come from? Wait a minute, did that just happen? What am I seeing? So it's causing us to rethink what's real and what isn't. It's causing us to rethink our views on certain people and certain groups, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's causing us to raise our standards a little bit because now we're not being pushed down. We're starting to rise up energetically. So in knowingness, right? In expansion. So this is there's people who don't want to lose that. That's all they know. That's all they know how to build. That's all they know how to operate within. So can you imagine the sense of fear that those people might have, that they're losing all of that power? Simultaneously, there are those that's all they know, therefore they do not believe that there can be anything else. And they're not afraid at all because they are the fear to them is actually juice, we'll say, for their own sense of who they are. And that's a whole different breed. Now that's a template, that's a structure. Yet there are many, many more and a much bigger layer and group and section of beings who are like, this is what I want. I want light, and I want to be able to enjoy this. And I want to have compassion, right? So that is outweighing the structures. Now, I'm going to just move on and kind of end on this note, because I know a lot of people are like, well, what are the details? Well, how is this going to look? And maybe I'll do another video on that. But I'm not here to predict the future in that regard. I have tuned in the past, and it's not fun for me. And that's one of the biggest messages. The more attention we give something, the more it grows. But I will share what I am tuning into is excitement. I'm tuning into a frequency that the guides are sharing with you right now that is the sound behind the sound. I'm tuning into something different. And how that presents itself in the next, 4 months? Yeah, 4 months or so, will be inevitably a positive thing, even if it doesn't look that way, because we still are working between multiple versions of template structures. So, and what I'm hearing is we're still clearing out a lot of stuff. And it's necessary for us to do that so that we can co-create from what I'm hearing is a bountiful experience rather than an experience of lack, frustration, fear, etc. So all of that stuff is important for us to grow out of it. I'm seeing compost, when you plant a garden, you use that to grow from. Some of us are already there, and we're just being patient, creating our reality structure and watching all of this other stuff play out from a lower density or lower dimension, and not really being attached to the potentials or to the outcomes. And in doing that, and I'm not saying that's where you are, that's a personal choice, but some people are doing that, and that's how they're holding the template structure. Others of us are kind of in the trenches, feeling the emotions and helping our brothers and sisters, and having moments where we need help from our brothers and sisters. And that's part of our human experience as these distortions start to dissolve. So I think there will be more that comes through about this, but I hope someone found this somewhat helpful as an overview of why things look the way they look. And this is from my perspective, as simple as I can make it. In the meantime, so go back within to the heart, work in our communities, connect with one another in a positive way. We're being called not to feed any type of structure that is based on a frequency of control and lower vibrational expectations, right? And also I'm being called to recognize template structures that are based on victim mentality, or like if there's a victim, then you have to have somebody be the rescuer. So we're being called to recognize that. Like, we're going to sense certain things within certain groups and go, that feels a little old paradigm. I can't quite explain it, but there's somebody who's better than everybody else, or there's somebody who is going to save us, or, being aware of that. We're feeling into these structures that we're all building together. And some things will get stronger while we all focus on it. And then as we start to lose our desire to focus on that, or we start to feel that isn't, oh, wait a minute, I'm not going to go there, it'll dissolve. So they're not going to hold as long. They might show up, like meaning different experiences for us to witness that are not what we want. But if we're not focused on those, or we're aware that that's what it is, and we don't continue to give our energy to it, then that will start to dissolve. And I'm being called to say one more thing. I'm not here to share whether, so I'm here to share what I see in the structures. And then you can take however that resonates with you, and apply it to your template, apply it to what you want to create, right? Maybe it can help us to see reality from a different perspective. That's really all I'm here to share in this particular video. So, in love and light, guys. Namaste.